What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, it has been a little bit boring the past few days. However, this is an odd statistic, but statistically speaking, Wednesdays usually see a lot of volatility for Bitcoin. So is this a bit of the calm before the storm? You can see right here, we did put in 7 weekly candles for the first time ever. We know that we're due for a bounce. Fear and greed at extreme fear levels we haven't seen in quite a long time, sitting at around 8. So things are definitely getting quite interesting for Bitcoin. And speaking of interesting things, although there isn't much to go over with the price action today, there is one chart in particular that I do want to just take the time to mention today that could signal that Bitcoin is actually at a very critical level, and it could even be bottoming out. I know it sounds crazy considering how bad things have been lately, but there is still one thing that is sort of worrying me short term. I do want to go over that. It's not a bearish video today, but it is something that we need to talk about. And considering that the markets are relatively boring right now, I think today's video is a great time to discuss it. However, like I said, volatility could hit us tomorrow statistically, as Wednesdays do tend to see, for some strange reason, a lot of movement. Now, something else we got to talk about, though, is everything that's been going on with Terra LUNA and UST. And we have to ask ourselves the honest question, did that set the cryptocurrency space back a little bit? Okay, is this essentially inviting massive regulation? Because not only that, there was another stablecoin that lost its peg as well. And if you guys check this chart out right here, this is actually Twitter's market cap. And you can see right here, it was sitting, Tether's market cap. It was sitting at around 84 billion. And, ever since this whole Terra Luna thing came out, you can see a lot of investors have actually sold off their USDT. And now it is sitting at around 75 billion. So with all of this happening with the stable coins and everything going on right now, what does this mean for crypto and how long could we actually take to recover? Well, in today's video, I also want to discuss the fact that we have proof, hardcore evidence that institutions are actually scooping up these dips. So if you're out there panic selling, just ask yourself the question, who are you actually selling to? And finally, we do know that there are two major catalysts that will inevitably happen: the spot Bitcoin ETF and the entrance of the sovereign funds, especially from the UAE. However, there is a little bit of conspiracy around this, and I am going to give you my opinion on it, and I will let you know exactly what I'm doing. So if that sounds good to you, thank you for coming back, even on a slightly boring crypto day. I love you guys. You're awesome. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it, and let's dive into the chart. So as we have pointed out multiple times, 7 straight weekly candles. Now, I do have a lot of people saying, at this point, it's time for us to start looking at the monthlies. Okay, well, if we start looking at the monthlies in that case, then yes, we have seen 3 red candles, 3 red candles, so it could be possible to see 3 red candles again on the monthly, right? That is a possibility. Maybe we did do something for the first time ever when it comes to the weekly, but let's pay attention to the monthly, right? So we may only have one more month of this red before we see that bounce. Now, I did say that I had expected a bounce down at these levels, but something that is worrying me just a little bit is the same way that essentially we had this bear flag, right? Where we came down here and, this is a bear flag. This is exactly how you define it. And it is coming up like this. And you could see that we were hitting the resistance, hitting the support. And then finally, once we lost it right here, that's when we had our fall. Well, interestingly enough, if we actually zoom into what we're doing right now, you could argue that maybe we're potentially putting in an even smaller flag or something like that. Now, you could argue that maybe, if you draw the line like this, maybe it's some type of a ascending triangle or a rising wedge pattern or something like that. But ultimately, if we do come down here and retest and we don't go lower than the $29,200 level, having that bounce back up to the top here could signal that we're putting in something very similar again. However, I do want to still point out that even if we are in another mini bear flag, it still does have that potential for that bounce back to the $33,000 level. And as you can see right here, we have slowly crept up, right? We are in fact putting in higher lows. So this is why I do think we are going to have that bounce back up to some of these levels, with the ultimate level, being back here where we essentially lost the support, right? So I still do think there is a possibility in that bounce. However, we don't really have a lot more downside that we can really fall here before we literally lose all of the macro support, right? We definitely don't want to fall below 28,000 and, 28,900 specifically. We did wick below it, but we have closed above it, as of making this video. So ultimately we are still on this structure. However, there is one chart that I do want to look at specifically. And that is the fact that if we actually, and you can see up here in the corner, I've actually done Bitcoin compared to gold. So not Bitcoin compared to dollars, right? Because we know gold has gotten hit a little bit too. Stocks have gotten hit as well. But if Bitcoin really is truly supposed to be that digital gold, then we would assume that it would be able to hold up that pace with gold, even though right now it is a risky asset according to most. I do believe that will change in the next decade. But you can see right here, we've actually already touched the all-time high, right? You can see Bitcoin came up here to the all-time high of gold, had a pullback, retested it again, which is very interesting confluence. And then if we come all the way over here, when Bitcoin did fall the first time around that $42,000 level, we actually came down and retested this level again, right? Right here, we never really got down to it, but we came very close. And also, just side note, you can see right here when we did have this structure, look at how that was actually being supported. Right here, we fell through, and currently, Bitcoin is sitting at the absolute previous all-time high for gold, right? So compared to the gold price, Bitcoin is at its previous all-time high. I don't know what this statistic means specifically or what this chart means specifically, but it is interesting to note that, on the dollar chart, to get back to previous levels, we would have to go down to around that $20,000 level. However, according to the gold chart, we've actually already hit the bottom, aka the previous all-time high. Something to just consider, right? Not sure what you want to do with that information, but take it with a grain of salt. Very interesting. I wanted to bring that up to you. And as I said, we did come down into the CME futures gap, right? We also have one up here. So this is why I said there is that potential that we could eventually see Bitcoin at least come up and try to test the CME futures gap. In order to close it, that would be a $35,000 Bitcoin. So from the price we're at right now to the top, that's about a 17.14%. So if you were looking to do something like a lower leveraged long, obviously be very careful out there. I wouldn't do anything crazy 3x, because we've seen 33% crashes before, right? You get your account wiped out. So, 3x if you're looking to do anything. If you do want to learn how to trade, check out the tutorials popping up above. There's $16,000 in bonuses below. All you got to do is sign up. It takes 20 seconds. You deposit some funds and you're eligible. That's really all you have to do. You can use it to trade, right? If you want, it's kind of risk-free because you're trading with their money. So just throwing it out there. If you guys want to take advantage of those opportunities in these crappy times, definitely check out the links below in the description. But I wanted to turn it over to Jurian Timmer. He actually was the one that put the gold to Bitcoin ratio on my radar, which is why I talked about it. But he was talking about a few different charts that sort of signaled to him that we're in a good buy zone, that we could be at the bottom. So he talks about these Bitcoin demand models. And he says with the current swoon to $25,000, Bitcoin is now below the price currently suggested by both my mobile phone-based S-curve model and the more conservative internet adoption model. So essentially, this is just the growth of people using, phones and then people using the internet. And if you do consider that crypto is sort of that nascent technology, that new technology, you do think it is something like the internet, right? We know that there's going to be a lot of losers. We know there's going to be a lot of altcoins that are definitely probably going to never recover. I hate to say that. This happens every cycle. But as you can see, we are in undervalued territory. He also points out that we are relative to both the demand and supply at 25,000. Bitcoin's suggested future return has materially increased based on the suggested future value from those two models. And finally, just talking about the Bitcoin hodlers right here, 60% decline in Bitcoin has not deterred the long-term hodlers. The number of Bitcoin held for more than 10 years is holding steady at around 13%. Now, the only reason that I'm a little weird about anything 10 years and older is simply because there were a lot of people that lost their Bitcoin. They threw out their laptops, right? They forgot their private keys. So 10 years is a little iffy. But when we did look at hodl waves the other day, we did notice that you were still seeing long-term hodlers, 6 years, 7 years, and in that vicinity. And I do think that if you have been in crypto for 6 years, that takes us back to 2016, 2017. I think you're a little bit none the wiser when it comes to losing your private keys and stuff like that. And nevertheless, we are seeing very high percentages. I think it might be around 7 or 8% on HODL waves. You can check it out on Glassnode if you guys are interested. Once again, just getting back to this, explain it like a 5-year-old chart. Ultimately, for Bitcoin to become really bullish, we have to get above this right here, which is now up to 600 daily, is up to $40,900. So $41,000 essentially is sort of that new level. And we're still holding around $21,900 as the bottom of the 200 weekly. So definitely keep that on your radar. And Bitfinex longs, they're still holding strong. Like I said, maybe they know something that we don't know. So definitely keep your eyes on that. Now, I want to turn it over to CoinShares. So according to their data, institutions reportedly invested $300 million into exchange-traded Bitcoin funds last week. The previous week recorded record weekly crypto inflows for the year of 2022, and the net weekly inflows were about $274 million in the previous week. So what does this mean? Well, it means that investors saw the recent UST stablecoin DPEG and its associated broad sell-off as a buying opportunity. Bitcoin was the primary benefactor. I'm not surprised. We know when all these big guys come in, we know they're going to Bitcoin first. They're not going to Chainlink. They're not going to, honestly, like Terra or Solana. They're going to go to Bitcoin, right? And that's why I say holding Bitcoin is probably the smartest bet, especially if you're looking to, stick it out and literally hodl during this entire dip, or this entire bear market, bear trend, whatever you want to call it. But CoinShares head of research, James Butterfill, expressed amazement at the unprecedented volume of bullish investments in Bitcoin funds despite increased market volatility. He says it's the highest weekly total since October of 2021 and the 19th highest since the records began all the way back in 2015. So when people say that the institutions have left the building, well, why are they buying right now? Why are we seeing, these inflows into Bitcoin funds? Now, I just want to point out that no, we do not have the full institutions in yet. This is just the little baby institutions, right? We don't have those sovereign, wealth funds and the real big guns yet, right? We need that spot Bitcoin ETF, which I'm actually going to get into in a minute, and we could talk about the conspiracy about that, but something that we do need to talk about is what did this UST fiasco have as an effect on the crypto market? So we had Arthur Chang. He is he's a venture capitalist over at D Finance Capital. And he says, personally, this has been an incredibly humbling and difficult event. We generally got the bearish direction right, so been a lot more cautious, but many of our assumptions are challenged and invalidated. We could have done much more as well to prevent this. And he thinks that Terra's implosion will, quote, set the space back a few years and whip up increased and justified regulatory scrutiny of DeFi around the world. The venture capitalist calls on the industry to act more professionally. So is it possible that this was the black swan event that we waited for? Is this going to set the whole DeFi space back, create that regulation, create those fears? People are going to see, oh my goodness, this thing fell 100%. I don't want to get involved in cryptocurrencies, right? It could spark some of that fear, and rightfully so. We are clearly seeing a lot of fear in the space, right? Now, on top of that, you have Deuce Finance's stablecoin is the latest to lose its one-to-one peg, falling to 64 cents. This is another algorithmic stablecoin. Now, there were some traders trying to take advantage of this, the mismatch of the prices, but it looks like Deuce Finance reacted by halting the redemption process in order to try and stabilize the coin. So lots of fear over stable coins. If you can't trust stable coins, what can you trust? And obviously, this is why we've seen a lot of decrease out of Tether. Now, USDC particularly is a coin that I do, in fact, I enjoy using. I trust USDC. It is by Circle. Okay, so if you're looking for a stable coin to get into, probably USDC is the one. However, Tether did come out in a recent blog post and was explaining that, being a collateralized stablecoin, that they have nothing in common with UST, which relies on an algorithm to maintain its dollar peg. Collateralized refers to the token being backed by assets, or in the case of USDT Tether, dollars and other cash equivalents. They said since 2015, Tether has never failed to process a redemption request for USDT at a value of $1 per token. So they say while USDT exchanges, or the price on the exchanges may have fluctuated, right here, for example, you could see that it did fall down to 94 cents. And I told you about that one time during the crazy capitulation event that we had in 2018. I actually saw it trade for about 74 cents for a few hours, but this was just due to the high demand. It instantly corrected itself by the end of the day, right? So as far as Tether is concerned, not too much to be afraid of, but things are getting crazy, and they are getting a little concerning when it comes to Terra Luna and Do Kwon, the founder. So according to a local report, you had Young Chang, a representative from the nation's ruling People Power Party, has requested a parliamentary hearing on everything that has transpired with Terra UST, its collapse, and the actions undertaken by some of the largest local crypto exchanges. So the South Korean politician outlined the damage this deterioration caused to local investors and wanted Do Kwon to appear in front of the country's parliament. At the same time, Kwon is trying to find a solution, with his latest proposal being a hard fork. So that is something that they're proposing. It's almost similar to what happened with Ethereum Classic and Ethereum, right? So now we'll essentially have two Terra Lunas, Terra Luna Classic, I guess, and the new Terra Luna. If you hold Terra Luna, if you were affected by this, do you agree? Should they go through with the hard fork, or should they just let the code be the law, So they talked about the role that the nation's largest crypto exchanges played, asserting that Coin One and Corbett halted USD trading, but BitThumb didn't. They waited 2 days, so he wants executives from these exchanges to appear in the hearing as well. And I also heard that there was, I don't know if it was somebody that was like stalking Do Kwon or like showed up at his house, but it was apparently an investor that lost like $2.9 million or something like that. So really, really crazy, guys. Definitely be safe out there. Yes, these are my alerts telling me when to long and short. I have alerts. One just went off. But as I said, I'm not jumping into anything right now until I really see it on the charts. But just to point something out super quick, guys, you can actually see right here that speaking of this whole conspiracy of when would the US actually release a spot Bitcoin ETF. Now, I don't know what the effects of Terra and USD and UST are going to have on Bitcoin specifically, because it really didn't have anything to do with Bitcoin. But I do know that that could potentially push the ETF approval down the road a little bit longer. However, if you do want to speak on conspiracy terms, right here, guys, on December 17th, we saw the all-time high for Bitcoin when it had hit $20,000 in 2017. Literally, I kid you not, I am not making this up. This is a fact. The next day, the very next day on December 18th is when the the CME released the Bitcoin futures. And what happened after that, guys? Well, we went from December 17th and had a massive downtrend all the way down here until December of 2018. Essentially, it was one straight year of nothing but just downwards price action. Now, this came at the peak of, the top of the blow off top, right? So my question is, having a look at what we're doing right now, considering that at the time of making this video, Bitcoin is sitting down about 56.9%. Do you think that these guys might actually wait for that absolute bottom out moment before then releasing the spot Bitcoin ETF and doing the absolute opposite that they did back here? And instead of having an opportunity to short it via cash, now they'll have an opportunity to long it via Bitcoin itself, holding Bitcoin and gaining value all the way along the way. It is something to consider, guys. It is something to consider. But obviously, getting back to this chart, guys, if we are putting in something similar that we did to this bear flag right here, then the question is, are we just putting in a smaller version of that and we're just going to bounce around here inevitably before falling down? I don't know, guys, but as I said, I still do believe that there is a possibility for the 33,000, and then next would be that $37,000, $38,000 level. And then at that point, I would be looking to potentially put in a short. I know that you guys don't like when I say that, and I don't like shorting Bitcoin either. It's not my favorite thing to do. I wish that I didn't have to, or it wasn't something that we need to do. But if we are in a continued downtrend and you do want to increase your Bitcoin holdings, well, dollar cost average, or, you short, unfortunately. But, like I said, as far as longing is concerned, right now, low leverage, because, and put your stop losses down here. If Bitcoin falls, I mean, honestly, guys, if Bitcoin falls below 29,000, after the next pump at that point, then yeah, I would say that we're not going up to those levels. But let's take it a day at a time. Like I said, Wednesdays, we usually do see a lot of volatility. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you for coming back to the channel. I love you. You're awesome. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. And if you want to trade responsibly and profitably, check out these videos popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.